the army of aerospace engineers that are required to make those things a reality for us are now in high school or earlier. Tell us a little bit about what a young man or woman should be thinking if they are, or should be wanting to do if they are excited. Why should they come into this profession?
Right. So I want to actually, it's very charming to actually position ISRO as like the poster child of aerospace engineering, but I want to broaden the scope of this for any young person to be listening to also understand what else has actually been happening around in aerospace um, in India. Right. So dial back to 1987, the options that a young man choosing to do aerospace was actually fairly limited by in hindsight. Right. So there were HAL or an NAL and a DRDO and an ISRO. Right. So these were like about 4 organizations that would pick you up. And sure enough, the population was much less. The number of students who were actually going to aerospace was much, much less. Now we have actually opened up lots of universities and colleges that have aerospace engineering. The number of opportunities also actually have to grow correspondingly. And so what has happened is around the turn of the century, we started attracting MNCs to come and set up R&D divisions in India. This was actually very different from what we have seen for the previous 40 years in India. So around 2000 is when I remember GE actually started something called a Center of Excellence with I think TCS or something, and then they went on their own. And pretty soon after that, Pratt & Whitney Canada came in, and then we had Rolls-Royce, we had Textron, we had Boeing, we had Airbus. Pretty much everybody, every big name in aerospace, if they did not have a R&D center in Bangalore, they would it's as if like they can shut down. So today, I think just about this last few days back, I was at an event when there is this founder of Akasa and a CEO, previously CEO of Indigo called Aditya Ghosh, who actually was on a panel discussion and mentioned this very interesting point, which is the triangle of Hyderabad, Chennai and Bangalore actually has more aerospace engineers than anywhere else in the world. In the world.
That is a phenomenal place to be
Yes.
for a country like us.
Correct. Right.
And this is just the beginning.
I'll tell you what it is. Right. This is actually the 2000s.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm still in the 2000s. So the 2000s, that particular decade is what actually grew this to happen. The next decade actually saw a lot of global aerospace manufacturing come to India. Right. And now it's not just the design. It's not just sitting in front of a computer and making designs, right? So keep in mind that aerospace is actually hugely a nationalistic endeavor, right? So when I was doing my PhD in the US, we used to actually talk about like the Russians doing this or the French doing this and the Americans doing this and so on. Sadly, actually, the Indians doing this was not part of the narrative at that time. Right, but perhaps it is now. And I used to wonder, wait a minute, all these people are scientists, so why do you actually, call them by the nationality, right? Why can't we just talk about their names, right? That's not the way it is. Aerospace is actually associated with national pride. There were a lot of these things that were actually a specific nation's preserve, and when they were actually getting unleashed through a wave of globalization, there were guards that were actually put on what could actually cross the shores and what technologies have to be kept close to your chest, all of that stuff. Export controls and all of that stuff, right? But those barriers have actually been broken. Because again, from first principles thinking, all right? So if you want to do something, you can actually figure it out yourself, sort of thing. Then the manufacturing wave has happened. So now India actually makes completely large full aircraft for people like Airbus, large parts of full aircraft for Boeing, or large parts of GE's engines and all of that stuff.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a thriving...
This is the best kept secret about aerospace engineering in the whole world.
India is as much an aircraft manufacturing nation today as any others.
It is. See, you go to Hyderabad, you go to Gujarat, right? You will see large parts of or even full large aircraft actually being made out there. And then we have the 2020s, which is where we are, right? And this is actually the age of the aerospace startups. So there is like wave after wave after wave of aerospace engineering that's beginning to happen every decade on decade. And I don't know where it's going, right? I don't know. I can't tell like what will be the 2030s, and so on. And it's possible that it doesn't have India doesn't have to be just a space superpower. We could actually be completely an aerospace superpower.
If you think AI is moving too fast, of course, I'm talking of aerospace intelligence here. You should know exactly where we are, what we are talking about. We better all be ready for it.